happened to my screen here? We'll be starting in just a few minutes. Sorry, this is Jason. We'll start in about a minute. Okay, just give me 1 second. My whole Chrome just crashed. And so give me 1 second, we'll start. It's gonna be about a minute late, but just give me a second, I'll get things back up. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jason with eduphoria. Sorry for the short delay there. When I launched the webinar, my background Chrome just decided to close all the tabs on me, so I had to panic a little bit, but we can get it done. And so glad to have you this afternoon. Happy to be able to share some good news about Aware Teacher Editing and talk about some upcoming other things possibly. This webinar, like always, will be recorded. And so that recording will be posted in our online help. If you registered, you'll get a link to it like always. And also always we have questions in the questions bar. Jason, like I said, is on here. Jenny is also on here with us. One of our professional learning coaches specializes in Aware. And then our director of product for a lot of our Aware side stuff, Ed, is on, and he'll be talking sometime today as well. Like I said, just to give you a visible there, it's going to be recorded. If you have questions, we'll be doing our best to answer them as we go. Please try to keep them on topic. And we'll answer them either via typing the responses if it's something kind of specific, or if it's something that the greater crowd might want to hear the answer to, then we'll interrupt each other and maybe comment on the answer and the question if that applies to everybody. All right, so today we're going to talk about viewing, editing views as a teacher. The process of this for those of you that are administrators and have used Aware.
Jason, I'm sorry to interrupt. We've already had the question, where can I get the recording afterwards? So can you cover that?
Yeah, so in our online help, I'll show it in a minute when I'll go to our online help in a minute. In our online help, it'll be posted there. You'll also get an email to the link to the recording. And so I'll show that in the online help because I'll go in and show the link to where things are here. Like this is an image, a screenshot of our online help for editing data views. But yeah, I'll show that in a few minutes. But there's multiple places for the recording to be there, and it'll be posted there for a significant amount of time. So it's not something that'll go away anytime soon.
Right, but if you are attending the webinar or registered for the webinar in 24 hours, you will also get a link to the recording.
That's correct. It'll email you. It'll email you that. Okay, so we'll talk about the ins and outs of what to do for enabling editing. But before we do that, I want to turn the floor over to Ed, our product manager here, that worked with our product team to get this set up for us. So Ed can give you a little background on what we've done, why, and where we're going. Thanks,
All right,
Ed.
thanks a lot. And I'll try to go quickly and efficiently because it looks like the people across the street are about to start mowing. So let's see if we can beat that on the microphone here. So this is actually a feature that's been a long time coming. This was a feature request that several of us had as customers before we joined the company. We actually kind of interviewed several of y'all and some districts around the state, big and small, a few years ago to kind of figure out what are some of the longstanding needs. And this was by far the number one need that was expressed by a lot of people, giving teachers more options to do more sophisticated things with data. So this is something that's been a long time coming. One of the things that came up though in every single one of our interviews is there are a lot of options within the edit menu for administrators that might be superfluous for teachers, might be just extra. You know, if you think about the star file, it comes in with certain things that don't necessarily even get used in a lot of views, even by district level administrators. So we wanted to make sure that when this was exposed to teachers, that there was some control. So Jason and Jenny, for example, are going to show you how district people can control when this is available to teachers so that you get to come up with your own training plan. But also we did not want to include every single possible field that you can build in a view at the district or campus level. So with that being said, this version of of teacher editing is almost what you might call teacher editing light. In fact, that's what we were calling it kind of internally before we released it, editing light. It has all the most used options for editing views for the most frequently looked at tests. So what that means is STAR and local aware assessments. Editing views for other types of imported tests may not work quite as well for teachers, at least not in this round of this feature. And that also would include inventories. Editing views with inventories wasn't necessarily something we were putting a lot of attention to for this, because most frequently the types of views that people are going to be editing are going to be for those local aware assessments and STAR. With that being said, we will be working with you guys over the next several months, especially with this very different start of school that we're about to have, or some of you have already started, depending on your calendars. This is a very different time to be coming back and looking at this stuff. And so on a kind of extended timeline, we want to be working with you guys to figure out how teachers use this and what the needs are. That way, like we already know from a lot of people, data like TELPAS, data like from different inventories, map, stuff like that. Those are things teachers are going to definitely want to use also with an edit button. And we're going to want to hear from you guys about the types of things that teachers do with their data so that we can make this even better. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jenny, I think, and we're going to start looking at it.
It'll be me. It's all right. Okay. I can talk a little higher pitched maybe. All right. So let's talk a little bit about what you're going to do. So first of all, I'm going to be logged in as an administrator. So a data administrator, district level administrator with those roles and aware. And just so you know, like Ed said, all of you have this as of right now. Let me zoom in a little further. So all of you, it's been released to every district. It's all out there. And on the Analyze tab for data administrators, under the Configuration Options button, there is a checkbox which is off. So right now for all of you, unless you've gone in already and turned it on, the default is for that checkbox to be deselected, so not selected, no check there. And so as of right now, if no one at your district has gone in and made that checkbox, then teachers have not, whether they've been in or not, there has not been any change on whether or not they can edit their data views or not. It is a district decision to go in and check that. And it is a checkbox for all or nothing. And so it's everybody that has teacher level access, roster type data. They all get the edit button, or none of them get the edit button. And as Ed kind of referenced there, this is editing live. We're going to be getting some feedback. We've already gotten feedback from several districts. There could be changes to additional checkboxes or options down the road, but that's down the road. Right now, it's all or nothing, and if you turn it on, then it'll give the teachers the edit button. But as you're about to see when I drag over my teacher account here in just a second, it is the same kind of process as administrators, but like Ed referenced, less folders. So before I move any further, any questions on enabling the checkbox as an administrator?
No, we're good on that. Hey, I just want to say quickly, I've got a couple questions. You are all muted. You don't have to mute in a webinar. You're automatically muted. So just to clear that up.
Not me, right?
No. The attendees were asking,
kidding.
am I auto muted, or like they don't
just
see the
kidding.
option to mute? Yeah. No, we
Yeah,
can.
if you're eating your lunch, we can't hear you. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I get there and before I forget, let me go ahead and answer two questions. One, we had the question about the recording. So once again, it'll be sent to you, but in our online help. So if you click on online help, and if you've noticed in our where we have a little Eddie helps on the side. So if you click that, it brings up the little window. Also up here, our help does that. We're going to be releasing a lot more information about this new kind of help. But if you click on that and click additional help articles, it will take you to like this page where it's our main page of our online help. Obviously, right at the top in the middle is training and webinars. And so after this webinar is over, Joel, one of our great employees, will go in, and you notice that it'll be, this is an aware webinar. So after today, once the recording has been converted and all those things happen, which takes a little while, but once it's done, it'll be posted in past aware webinars. So it'll be right here. So this is where you can come access any of those historical ones, including this one, will be there as soon as it's ready. And so just wanted to say that. And then also, if we go back to our online help, just since we're about to talk about this, there are two online help articles right at the top of Aware. So if you click on Aware, editing data views for teachers, we kind of try to keep things pertinent at the top of the screen. And so management, I just talked about it, enabling teacher editing views. So there's a little article with how to do that. And then obviously a broader article on editing data views for teacher that we're about to show. Okay, so let me get back into my teacher account here. And so this normal teacher account, if we've enabled the checkbox to allow teachers to edit data views, then whether it be by class or by all my students, or if they have additional things, but all my students, you can go in and edit data views just like you can as an administrator with a couple of lesser abilities, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So nothing changes for teachers. When they click on it, they click the quick views, they can still see all and use all of the quick views that the district has put out there for them. But the additional thing obviously is they now will have an edit button if you've enabled it for them, and they also now will have a save button. So first, let's talk about the edit. And so when you click edit, it is exactly what those of you that are administrators are used to seeing. And so there should not be a training need for you guys to learn something new to train your teachers. It's exactly what principals and district level staff have always seen. Teachers will get the tests that are pertinent to them. And so it definitely probably will be a shorter list than what administrators see in the number of tests, but the same thing goes here as it's always gone. You just go in and drag and drop whatever, if you want to do a multi-test comparison, which as Ed referenced, there's been a lot of requests over the years. Probably the most common request of allowing teachers to be able to manipulate data themselves is to be able to do a more than one test kind of data view. So obviously that's capable by just dragging and dropping, just like it always has been for anybody that could edit views in the past. So you drag them on, drag them off. That's always the case. The columns tab is where you're going to see that limit. And so for those of you that are administrators, whether it be campus or district administrators, there are significantly more fields and folders here. We did that as a choice. We have broad experience with users in Aware, and our customer success team fields calls from users in Aware every day. And like Ed said, the administration folder isn't here. There's other folders that are not here. We understand that we did that by choice because we want teachers to be very clear and easy and not have to wonder where to go get the most pertinent information that makes the most sense for them to use. And so we made the decision that demographics, subgroups, and then also overall score level, reporting category score level, TEAC level or learning standard score level, and then individual responses being item level data. 99.9% of the time, in our opinion, through our experience, those are the data views that teachers are interested in. Those are the data views that teachers obviously are going to be building if they're customizing data. Now, like I said, we've already received feedback from multiple districts with comments and sharing things. And like Ed said, we're going to continue to collect those kind of responses, and we always listen to you guys. But we also don't want it to be an overwhelming training burden and support burden on your staff that support teachers at your district, because in our experience, it becomes confusing when there's so much out there that it's hard for them to find what they're actually looking for. So we've made this consciously as a decision to limit that. But they do not have limits in the ability to do things. It's just the number of fields. So for example, just like you can always filter on the columns tab if you're an administrator or have always been able to edit data views, teachers will have that ability too. So if I wanted to do a greater than or less than kind of view for percent score, like a percent score range, I could do that. If I wanted to look for a particular subgroup, I could say, show me only the first year monitoring LEP students or whatever. Teachers will have the ability to do filters just like you guys at the administrator level does. I'm gonna go ahead and move over to the Summarize tab, and you'll see here, we actually just have the demographics folder because typically, even for our administrators out there, we see mostly subgroup type data going on the Summarize tab, so that we're gonna summarize the data by these groups, comparing or looking at the data for these type of data fields. So that's just our decision. It was something to experience. Once again, the main goal was to try to prevent confusion for teachers. So I'm gonna pause, see if we have any questions, comments concerning what I've shared already.
I'd like to point out a couple of things that I think are relevant that some of the questions kind of are touching on. And that is, first of all, you went through all my students. Mm-hmm. That is a huge difference between the way an administrator and a teacher edit a view. A teacher has always gone through a class period or clicked all my students in order to look at test data. And it's the exact same way. So when a teacher creates and saves a view, if they created it for all my students, then the view is perpetually saved for that chunk of students. If they, however, had picked fourth period, then the view is saved for fourth period. This gives them some flexibility to say, I want to look at this view for a specific purpose. When you couple this with the monitor list feature that we released in the spring of the last school year, did we release that right before everything shut down? I think we released it right before spring break. The monitor list feature that allows teachers to look at data for a monitor list can combine with this so that a teacher can say, I want to use fourth period to look at these data, or I want to look at all my students, or I want to look at the monitor list that I created of students who I'm following along with because several years of STAR prior to last year, they were showing that maybe that they were struggling to make progress. And now, especially after COVID and virtual learning, I want to make sure I follow these kids. I don't know what I would call that monitor list, but probably not with all those words. And so then I could actually create a view to just follow that monitor list of students if I wanted to.
Okay, I see we had a question come in about EcoDis.
Yep.
I will go ahead and mention that since I don't have to go anywhere else than pop back over here to my same configuration options. We did a webinar on this several weeks ago, but we do have the ability to manage economically disadvantaged. So the question was, do teachers automatically have access to see that? The teachers automatically have access and have always had access to summary level data. So you see here, summary level data is enabled for district, campus, and teacher level. That's how it's always been, but in order to give people the access to see individual level data for EcoDis information, so which students, not just teachers, but every user, you had to go in the past and do that in roles and rights and give them the right to see that. And that was on an individual user basis. You still can do that. but you can also manage this one on a global scale here. Like I said, we had a webinar. You can go back to those historical webinars, and we did one on that, and obviously there's a help article on that as well. All right, back over here, let me go ahead and just make a change. I'll just say equals no here, so I'm doing something. And I'm going to update. So the update button, for those of you, is still the same thing, but obviously I told it to show me, and I'm not really smart for you to build, because if they didn't meet the approach to gradable level, they're not going to be meeting masters either. But anyway, so I made one there just to show you that when you update, it's going to do exactly what it did for you administrators. And like I said, there is a save button. So if the teachers do want to keep it, like I had said, depending on the level they're at, when they click save, it's going to refresh. And then they have my save views, and it's called student scores. You see, I didn't rename it. It's called student scores, but it's under my save views. So teachers have never had save views in the past. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Demo data. But teachers have never had save views in the past, but now they will have the my save views. Like Ed said, the interface has not changed for them. For those of you that have always edited, you see quick views. But teachers have always seen their classes and all my students, and so they will get an additional my save views that they've never had before when they save views. But other than that, nothing on their screen will have changed locations. They'll just have the edit button and save button. The main difference between now is also when they save, when you save it as an administrator, you can share that to the entire campus. If you're a campus administrator, you have the ability to share it to the entire district if you're a district administrator with those rights and aware. For teachers as of now, we allow them to save them, but they're only saved for themselves. And so they're not, we do not have the share. Once you save, you do not get a share button as you would if you were a principal or a district level data administrator. So I'm going to pause just for another second or two and see if we have any other additional questions that need to be addressed.
So Christine asked very early on if they could eliminate the options of the tests that are available in the editing views. And I guess the quickest way to answer that, Christine, is that only the tests that apply to that students, students are going to be available in that section.
That's a good question, because there's multiple answers to that.
Right.
So yes, teachers are only going to get, they're only going to see tests that any of their students have taken. But let's say I'm a high school teacher, and obviously we've used Aware for a long time. My students have taken tests for many, many, many years. And maybe some of those local tests or something, we don't want confusing teachers because it's just something they have to drive through. This is something we offer on our team. Jenny is great at it. It's something Jenny and I talk, and Ed and I talk all the time about it is, sometimes, especially for those of us that have been using Aware for a long time, you have the ability to go in and do some cleanup. And so you might want to create a test type that's like called all old test or retired test. You see here it says retired assessments. Not that you want to delete any data. We're not deleting anything. But if you create a test type and then move, like you decide as a district, anything prior to 2017 or whatever, we're going to, or 16 or whatever, we're going to put in test types that we might hide. So you see these view options. You can put the test in there and then disable the viewing options for them for teachers. And so if you do that, then teachers would not see them. You can also do that for administrators as well. And if somebody ever were to come back and need that, then obviously all you can do is you just check on the checkbox for that short amount of time and it'll come back. So there are multiple ways that you might want to clean up. We absolutely recommend that. That's something we talk about as our end of year kind of process. We talk about cleanup. We actually have added that, Jenny and I have added that as like a menu item as something that we do as trainers for Aware, that we would be glad to help you. You kind of decide to clean up your test types and move data around so that things are cleaner for all end users, much less just teachers. So that's a good question that can be answered in multiple ways.
Jason, real fast, I think we might have misunderstood that question. It looks like Christine was asking really about the thing we talked about earlier, where if you were trying to look at something like map data, that you do want to look at, the data come in, but when you click edit, you're not necessarily able to do things related specifically to map because that folder is missing.
The fields are missing.
I can answer that way shorter. we'll probably just go ahead and put that folder in there for you, or for the teachers. That was just not part of the original release, but we'll probably just go ahead and put that folder, all the folders related to the specific tests.
That makes total sense.
Tell-pass, map, inventories, yes. Yeah.
So I just talked about 3 minutes that didn't answer the question, but I'm glad we finally got it answered. So that's great. No, good question.
I do also want to add that we did, and some people are going to find this right now. I think somebody already did find it. We have been told that there is a weirdness happening where when you try to save a view and change the name of it, it's not taking the name change. We have that has been reported, and we'll get that fixed probably in the next couple of weeks.
Perfect.
There you go.
Ed, do you want to take Christine's other question in there and just answer it privately?
Okay.
Sorry. Thanks.
All right. Any other questions we need to address publicly?
I think we're good.
Okay. And Ed can answer that one, and then Ed can we can talk about. So I want to talk a little bit about a sneak preview. Just a little thing that we have as an assessment team. We kind of have an education part of our company, and we have an assessment side of that. That's kind of a sub team that Ed, Jenny, and I are on, along with Emily and a couple of other folks that are going to be on there as well. But we've been really thinking as a company about what can we do to help support our districts in this time. And we've decided that from an assessment side of things, especially from a teacher standpoint, assessing students has multiple definitions. But one definition that we're really concerned about right now, and I know you guys are too, is just the social and emotional health of our students, not being in the classroom, not having regular school, not having a regular schedule, things at home different because of COVID. It's just something that teachers normally, you see all three of us used to be teachers, and a lot of you out there, even if you're administrators, used to be teachers. It's one thing to see your students in a classroom, be able to see their expression, how they walk in or whatever, and know if you need to go over and ask them how they're doing or something like that. But a lot of us aren't getting that opportunity. So all that to say is we're working really hard in the next, hopefully within the next week. We have another webinar next Wednesday that's focusing on online testing. But hopefully we're going to have something to show in a way of saying this online test that we're going to show you that we've built is a test that you could use so that teachers could send out, or whoever at the district could send out to students to maybe get them to click on the multiple choice response that goes along with this emoji that shows whether they're mad, sad, happy, how is your day going, that kind of question. And so we're going to help you collect that data with a test. We're going to have some examples, hopefully for you to either copy or some file we could send out. And then also we're going to move toward hopefully having a student form or two as examples in the community, so that if the teacher wants to follow up with the student because of how they responded with that on their test, then like a tier 1 type response. And then if it needs to move up to a school counselor or some other form. We really just are very concerned, as you all guys are, with more than just data. And when it comes to just scores, we're concerned about how teachers are doing, how staff are doing, and we're going to be working on that on our professional development and growth side on the Strive side. But on the Aware side with student data and student growth, we're really concerned and really going to help you try to focus on how students are doing. And so Jenny is very much at the forefront of our social and emotional health kind of research. And so we're going to be very excited to kind of share some of those things with you next week. So if you can attend next week, we're going to be talking about just general online testing improvements, but we're also going to have part of that webinar to be talking about some online tests that you can give to students more than just assessing what they know, but also how they feel. So it's something we're working hard on and hope to have something to show you next week.
Perfect. Can you show them the help section where editing light is located?
Right. So on our there's this editing data views as a teacher, and so this is a article that should be fairly self-explanatory, with big pictures and step by step on how you go in and edit a view. And so that is available right now. It's published out to everybody. You ought to be able to get to it. And so hopefully that is something you definitely could share. Obviously, a lot of districts out there like to kind of copy this and put their own spin on things. We absolutely encourage that, but hopefully that's good for you. And then you can always share this video with those folks too once this video is out. And once again, that should be posted sometime later today. And then those of you that registered, you'll get an email 24 hours from now.
Sorry, I just clicked answer live and it was a question I was going to type the answer to. So I'll just answer it live. Someone asked about under the student groups. I guess in editing, she sees them all. If you are a campus level user or a district level user, you see all the groups. So it's not just your groups. That's why. Sorry.
All right, if you have additional questions, feel free to contact our customer success team or our training team, either one. We're happy to help you out, and whether you need help with test types or how do I do anything, we're always there to help you. And once again, a reminder about next week's webinar. Please register for it so that we can show you some exciting new things that have been released on online testing, just some additional features, and then talking about taking care of our kids. All right, we appreciate your attendance. We made it in about 30 minutes, actually, with the 1 or 2 minute delay we had. We made it in exactly 30 minutes. So thank you for your time. We're always excited to talk to you guys. We miss you. We miss seeing you. I know all of us talk about that all the time, but hopefully we'll hear from you soon, and good luck with whatever start you guys are having to experience. We know things are very different out there, and we want to wish you all well. Have a good day.
Thank you.